Hi everyone, I have been asked for a very long time to do an eyeliner tutorial on how I do my eyeliner, and I'm going to do that today. I'm finally getting it done. I've given myself a kick up the arse. I actually filmed this, spent hours exporting it and editing it and everything, and then when it came to watching it, the final result, I was really unhappy with the quality, so I'm re-recording because it went out of focus and I just didn't like it. Other things to note today, I have a massive red mark on my cheek which I'm quite self-conscious about. My face has just developed eczema. I have eczema on my hands and my arms, so as if it wasn't enough of an annoyance, I now have it on my cheek and above each eyebrow. So when we get to the zoom in stage, please feel free not to comment on the fact that I have horrible skin here and here. I already know. Right, so for eyelining, I have 5 brushes, which is probably a bit excessive. My favourite far and beyond is this Louise Young brush. I think this is the LY24 and it's quite affordable. It's either £8 or £10. It's pretty good value, and it's definitely the best eyeliner brush I've ever used. It's really fine and really tapered. The problem I've always had with the MAC 209 and 210 is that while they're quite fine, they've never tapered to that fine point that you can see there that gives me the level of precision I need. So hands down, this is the best eyeliner brush I've ever used. I also have a couple more from Louise Young. I have this one, which is quite similar, but it's got shorter bristles. I can't remember the names, so I'm going to put it all in a thing up there or in the description box. But this is a slightly fatter, shorter version of this one. It's also very good, and I do like this one, but I like this one for when this one's dirty and I haven't had time to clean it. This one also gives a bit of a thicker line, so it's less precise. The last Louise Young brush I have is this quite fat synthetic brush. I really like to use this with pigments, and in particular things that might stain. So things like these Sugarpill Chromalust eyeshadows. This is really good for those because it won't stain because it doesn't take any pigment into the bristles of the brush. So this is a really good option. As for angled brushes, I have 2. I have the MAC 266, the jewel in the crown of gel eyeliner, and I also have the Illamasqua angled brush. I don't know if it's a brow brush or anything, but you can use it for brows or eyeliner. What I will say about Illamasqua brushes, because not many people use Illamasqua brushes, they always tend to gravitate towards MAC. Illamasqua brushes are amazing quality. They're cruelty-free, completely synthetic, and they're really good. This one is the finest angled brush I've ever found. That's why I use it for my eyebrows, because it gives me a nice fine line without being too sharp. And with the 266, this is the brush that is always recommended by MAC makeup artists if you want to try out gel liner. I have a checkered past with this. I've owned this probably 3 or 4 times and got rid of it, then bought it again because I felt like I needed it, and then got rid of it again. I'm sorry, my neighbour is a complete elephant. I don't actually know what they're doing. They seem to be bowling with half-ton balls or something. But the reason I think this is recommended so widely is because it has quite a natural movement in one particular direction. And also because it allows you to kind of print where you want the liner to go before actually drawing it in. So it's quite useful for absolute beginners, but for me, I have used these types of brushes since the beginning, since I was 13, and getting to grips with those liners that you dip in the little pot. That's how long I've been using a straight brush, so this is actually quite difficult for me to get to grips with. It also doesn't offer the level of precision I would like. It's quite fat, and I find that generally I'm dissatisfied with this brush. However, we don't want it to turn it into a rant about the 266. Now in terms of liquid liners that I recommend, I have a handful, and this is by no means my full collection. I probably have about 6 or 7 more. I'm a bit of a junkie. One of my favourite liquid eyeliners on the market is the Urban Decay eyeliner. This one is in Perversion. The reason I like it is because the brush is it's really fine, but it's also, you can use it in 2 different angles. So you can use the flat angle or the much more fine side. So this is a really great product. It took me a long while to get used to it. I really hate the bottle, but Urban Decay have always been a form over function kind of brand, I think, especially if you take the Urban Decay Primer Potion. However, this is really black, it stays on all day. This is easily one of my favourite eyeliners in this style. I also really love the Shiseido Fine Eyeliner Pen. This is a fine, it kind of looks like a calligraphy pen almost. Not calligraphy, but like kind of a brush art pen. And it takes cartridges. I'm doing gentle with this because I always get black all over me. Mine's quite empty, as you can see, but this is one of the products that I've really fallen in love with. You dispense the ink here, and then you draw a line, and it allows for really good precision, and it's really nice and black. This is easily one of my favourites as well. I also have this really great one, which is quite an obscure brand. It's called K Palette. This was sent to me by my lovely friend Scarlett, and this is really great. It's like the Shiseido liner, much more affordable, really fine, and it's just really easy. It's a pen style liner, so it's really nice to use. What I will say about this is I don't really think it lasts all day on me, whereas all the others do. This seems to kind of wear off and go a little bit greyish. I also have many of these kind of liners. The ones that have the foam tip, I really like, and I don't think it gets enough love, I really like the Boot Black liquid liner by MAC, but it's a nice deep black colour, it stays on all day, it doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge, and for me it's just a really simple pleasure. I also have the Double Wear Estée Lauder. This is really good, but I hate the applicator. The applicator is a foam tip applicator, but it's really rigid, and mine doesn't seem to have any give yet. I'm kind of using it on and off to see if it gets any give, but it does have a nice fine tip, so I'm imagining that once I kind of break it in, it'll be really nice to use. I also have a MAC Superslick liquid eyeliner. These are really nice because they come kind of pre-flexed, I suppose, in the sense that whereas you have to break in some of the foam tip applicators, this one is naturally very pliable. The only problem with these is that you do have to shake them because, look at that, they come off really watery. These stay on quite well, not as long as the liquid lasts, but they do quite a good job. They just go watery. And my least favourite ever, the Artliner. I have massive issues with this, probably because, again, I am really used to using a brush, but this is my least favourite eyeliner ever. I bought this because of Lorraine, as did so many other people, I should think, and this has to be my least favourite. You know when you just can't get the hang of something, like my brain doesn't actually want to let me get the hang of it, my brain just doesn't work with that one. But anyway, as for gel liners, there's only one that I'm going to recommend, and that is the Clinique brush-on cream liner in True Black. This is amazing, super creamy. If you find MAC's Black Track Fluid Line way too dry, this is definitely going to be for you. It's really creamy, stays on all day, so easy to disperse over the eyelid, whereas with the Black Track I felt like I was kind of scraping it and it would streak because it was just so dry. So this is a really great product. I've also heard good things about Bobbi Brown.
The place where I start applying product is the end or centre of the lid. This is so that I can deposit most of the product loaded up on the brush here instead of in the inner corner where it's going to smudge and look really, really messy later. So I'm just continuing to trace that line over the eyelid, and you need to make sure that you get as close to you can in the lash line so that you don't have any naked patches of eye which will look weird once you put mascara on. As I go towards the inner corner, I start using much more gentle strokes so I can get the level of precision that I want. I like to get the line right into the inner corner, but that's just a matter of preference and style. Most tutorials I've seen advise to line your brush up with the outer corner of your eye and draw along that angle. I find that angle a bit too severe for my eye shape, so I usually make it a bit shallower and then either press or draw a little dot and then join that up to the upper lash line. I actually find it really difficult to drag the brush straight back across my lash line and join it up. So what I do is I draw an almost parallel line and join that up to the upper lash line and then thicken out the rest of the shape to match. And we're done. That's how I do it with the tapered brush. I start with the angled brush in the centre of the eyelid, just as I do with the tapered brush, so that I deposit most of the product there. I use the angled brush with the more angled end pointing inwards to my eye, so that I get the best level of precision. It's just the way that I find works best. As you'll see here, sometimes I reverse the brush almost and just use the very tip to get right into the inner corner. It just makes it a lot easier to get the level of precision that I want, and I really, really hate messy eyeliner in the inner corner. For the cat eye, I tend to print and drag. So I print the brush down with the product on it and then drag it so I get a really nice template to follow. I then join it up to the upper lash line and then just fill that bit in. It's really easy to lengthen the cat eye with this brush because it moves really naturally. Ta-da! Comparison shot. Can you tell how much I hate the 266? Look how red my eye is there. But the flicks probably aren't equal. One eye is higher than the other, and I wasn't really paying much attention to that anyway.
I was also asked about applying pigments as a liner. Now, the way that I do this, I have two particular products that I use. I use the Pixi eye colour sealer, and then I have a small sample of the Face Atelier Transforming Gel. The Pixi Eye Colour Sealer is a really, really runny water-based solution, which I will show you. Basically, it's kind of like eye drops. Look, it's watery. It's very, very comparable to MAC's water-based mixing medium. Obviously slightly thicker than Fix Plus, but Fix Plus will work as well, but it depends on what pigments you're using. If you're going to use a MAC pigment, say something like this, water-based mixing medium or this will work really, really well, as the pigments are quite cohesive and they have, you know, a kind of structure. You know when you get lumps in your pigment? Those kind of pigments are good with water-based products. However, if you have anything that is like, say, a loose glitter or a Sugarpill Chromalust eyeshadow, which are extremely finely milled and packed full of glitter, you won't want to try the water-based products. They work initially, but the product tends to flake off and kind of, it loses its intensity really quickly. So I've been using this kind of gel product from Face Atelier, and this is really, really good. What this does is that it doesn't just dampen the product so that you can spread it over in a line more easily. This actually kind of bonds it together and makes it into a gel eyeliner. The good thing about this is that it is really, really good for keeping the colour true and keeping the colour saturated and bright, and it also holds glitters in the formula, whereas with a water-based kind of formula, I think the glitters kind of just get a bit lost and then they fall off really easily because it flakes. But this keeps the glitter and the pigment in a cohesive formula.
Here's a little clip of showing you how that I mix the pigments and the transforming gel. Just get a bit on the back of your hand and then mix in the pigment to get the saturation that you want. Really, really easy. Here's just a speed motion of me applying the glitter liner, just to show you how I use pigments and glitters to line my upper lash line. It's worth bearing in mind that because they're not pre-mixed products, there is a lot of space for human error, so you'll see me building up what looks like about 60 layers of glitter here. That's because I didn't mix enough glitter in, and the mixture is going to be much less cohesive than a shop bought product.